Been wanting to do this for hours. Hello, Whatnuts. It is Monday, May 5th in the United States and Canada. And this is a show called What Chaos, presented by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code What Chaos and get $50 instantly when you play $5. Prize Picks, run your game. Done with the first round and in Boston, Massachusetts. My name is David Bean. I sit beside Pete Blackburn. And across the room is Sean DePaz. Sean, I saw Pete a lot this weekend. Saw you a little this weekend. How was the rest of your weekend?
Oh, I was going to be like, did you see me this weekend? I guess.
Yeah, Sean, did I fucking stutter?
Yeah, did not. Things are good. I kind of forgot what the question was. The got to shout out the National Lacrosse League's Buffalo Bandits' 5th straight championship appearance in the midst of the greatest dynasty in professional sports that no one wants to talk about, as I tweeted last night. Too much time talking about LeBron and the Cowboys to talk about the Buffalo Bandits, but good times in Banditland. How are you, Pete?
I'm good. Thank you for asking, Sean.
You know what that team you were just talking about should do? They should start dating Jordan Hudson, and then they'll be in the news. Everybody will talk about them all the time.
True.
That's the trick.
True.
Done with the first round. What a positively wild weekend of watching hockey. I look so forward to discussing all the shit that went down this weekend and what's coming up. Steve Peters is going to be with us in a little bit, and it's a big day across the board hockey-wise. Pete, could you fill the folks in as to why?
Absolutely. I would love to do just that. We had an insane weekend, but today is also a big day in hockey. Today on the show, we're going to talk about the Bluesers. That's a hybrid mix between the Blues and the Losers.
How much
the Blues are losers?
Can you walk me through the decision to go BLUE as opposed to BLOSER? I'm assuming you had to make that calculation. I was just wondering how you landed on it.
I side with it being a play on blues than it being I think it's like a subject and then indirect sub. I forget how sentences work anymore, but like it's about the blues. So I think that
makes sense. Yeah,
you'd go a little more blues heavy there.
Also on the show, what do the Avs do? Because the Avs sold out at the deadline, or I guess like throughout the entirety of this season, sold out to make a run this year, and they were out in the first round. That was another part of the wild Game 7 weekend that we had this past weekend. And then, as DJ said, Steve Peters, our favorite analyst, going to break down what we saw in the first round, what we might see in the second round, and finally, it's draft lottery day, and that means something to some of us who had to watch our team be ass this entire season. This is what we've been waiting for. It is the final chance for me to be hurt by the Boston Bruins this year, and I'm excited about it.
Ooh, maybe not, though, because they could get like the 3rd pick in this 2-player draft, and they could go wildly off the board. Or just they could have the 3rd pick, which means they have to make a decision.
They're going to hurt you. That won't hurt me? Well, yeah. I mean, technically, though, I guess technically the draft is in this current season.
Yeah.
So, right? I guess they could hurt me again.
Yes, it is, because the league year.
July 1st.
July 1, right?
Yeah. Right. So, and then they'll hurt Pete in another way. But where they end up picking today could hurt him. One, you should be excited.
No, I'm not excited. I'm not excited because excitement only leads to disappointment. So I'm not excited. I'm just intrigued, interested, Not excited.
It's very John Becker coded, if anybody ever watched the hit show Becker with Ted Danson, and I hope you did. Let's begin with the Blues out-chunking the Jets in a double OT thriller. This one, really, both game sevens, a team blows a lead and then loses in overtime, or not in overtime. Shout out the Avalanche. Blues 1.6 seconds away from heading to the second round in an incredible upset. And this was always going to be a good game because one way or another, we were going to talk about somebody being a choker or a loser. It was going to be Jim Montgomery, who has not fared well in playoffs when he's had a really good opportunity to thrive, or it was going to be Connor Hellebuyck, who has sucked in this series. We ended up kind of getting to do both last night, which was really cool. But ultimately, it's the Blues who, despite being the second wild card team and despite playing the President's Trophy winner, comes out of that game being like, God damn, did we fucking blow it?
Yeah, I mean, and on the other side, like, it genuinely felt like a miracle that the Jets won that series, which is crazy. Like, they were the best team in the league during the regular season, President's Trophy, but like, and that's not to say that like it's that they sucked or whatever, but it is crazy that they managed to escape the way that they did with some of the injuries that they did. That Connor Hellebuyck wasn't good and it didn't ultimately matter and they still get through. That series was crazy and the finish was insane.
Yeah, it's nuts that you get to sincerely do the Jets are better just not having a goalie than having Connor Hellebuyck in there. Because the miracles they were able to pull with the empty net last night.
Yeah, and I mean, like, that double overtime goal was also their first even strength goal since Game 5. So, like, they were battling themselves defensively. Like, they were pretty bad defensively over the tail end of that series as well. So it wasn't all on Connor Hellebuyck, but they were battling their own defensive play. They were battling a goalie that has what I can only describe as an insane case of the yips. Like, and I know that he's been bad in previous playoff runs, but in the previous 2 playoff runs, there was some plausible deniability that, like, okay, the team in front of him was letting it down. This was the most egregious circumstances of Connor Hellebuyck just being a bad goalie.
It wasn't until, I want to say, like, after Game 4 of the first round against the Avalanche last year that you lifted the, like, okay, we don't have to say there doesn't need to be any caveats. We can just say he's not playing well, because the first few games, you're like, he doesn't quite look himself, but man, he really has to carry that team. There wasn't really that this year, even once Scheifele got hurt. Like, you could say that things weren't going great for the Jets, but the biggest thing that wasn't going great for the Jets was that their supposed best player was actually bad,
right? Not
underperforming. And at home, he was fine, but he still wasn't what I would consider himself. And on the road, he was horrible. He had an .830 save percentage in this series, and now he gets through, and maybe he's got a new lease on life. I'm fascinated by this second round between the Stars and the Jets. I'm sure that we will talk a lot with Petey about that in a little bit, but maybe he gets out of this being like, I've got a new lease on life. And then the other goalie, because you said with a goalie, I didn't know which one you were referring to. Jordan Binnington, you do have to, and I said this on the stream last night, or you can do whatever you want, but I at least have to acknowledge the intangible element that I think that we can overstate in a lot of cases. But with Jordan Binnington, that guy is a fucking winner. It's crazy how much better he is when shit actually matters.
Definitely.
And when it kind of matters, he can be terrible, and it just doesn't matter.
And I mean, you mentioned the intangible factor. Like, there was a play in the, what was it, overtime? I don't know if it was the first or second overtime, but like the tip that he had no idea where the puck was. And not only did he stop it, he like accidentally stopped it, and somehow it did not come loose from just like under his pad. And that's the kind of shit that I'm like, all right, there's some sort of juju that Jordan Binnington sold his soul to be a great big game player. And that was another example of it. He didn't get beat cleanly once in Game 7. All 4 Jets goals were off deflections.
Yes.
So, like, Jordan Binnington lost that game, but he was absolutely the better goalie in that game. And Connor Hellebuyck, to his credit, did lock it down over the second half of the game to allow the Jets to to at least give them a chance to come out of that series. He obviously played bad for a majority of the series, but when it mattered most, he did kind of lock it down.
Shout out to Dr. Smacken, who noted I said that you can do whatever you want, so they are leaving work. Good for you. We have a super chat from Fergus Marner. Hello, Fergus, our beloved. I went on Maury. He told me a man named Brad Marchand is my real dad. Congratulations.
The story grows.
Fergus.
The
Brad is a
legend grows.
great guy and a wonderful father.
That's
so congratulations to you there. Should the Blues feel like losers here? Because Mark Scheifele did not return to the series after getting rocked by Faxa. Josh Morrissey leaves in the first period of last night. Jets have to play a double overtime game with 5 defensemen. And I stopped caring about one of these teams is the best team in the NHL. One of these teams is the 8th best team in the Western Conference. Like 3 games into the series, even 1 game into the series, because the Blues should have won game 1. Blues did squander this series.
But the Blues were also the best team since Four Nations. So it did not feel like a 1v8. And that's a credit to the Blues and also like a discredit to the Jets for some of the ways that they fell apart in the series. But yeah, like I don't feel like the Blues squandered this. I feel like they had a very, very good opportunity and put themselves in a great opportunity based off of the way that they played throughout the series. Like Scheifele and Morrissey getting hurt is partially credit to how tough and physical the Blues played that series.
And the series going that long. You don't get hurt in game 7 if it doesn't go to 7. And
Right.
if you're the President's Trophy winner, you shouldn't go to game 7 in the first round.
Right. So like I don't think you feel bad about that series. Obviously, it's a kick in the dick to lose with 1 point or to blow the lead with 1.6 seconds left in the third period. But ultimately, like I don't think you feel that bad about it in a bigger picture sense for the Blues.
Without getting into their next matchup, do you think the Jets could go on a run now?
Not without Scheifele and Morrissey.
That is the short answer to that question. Although, let's be careful to not do this team can't win without blank, because there are a lot of teams that are kicking around in the second round right now where you're saying, how'd you get here without him? How'd you get here without both of those guys? I really want to talk about the Stars and what they did to the Avalanche in game 7. We were out in public. The game was on at a bar. I was watching a lot of it on my phone until we got to the bar, glued to the TV in the third period, where the Avalanche have a 2-0 lead and the Stars erase it and win in regulation on a Mikko Rantanen hat trick. The most stunning end to a series that I initially thought would be tough, and then by the time the series started, it was like there's no way Dallas can win this series. Maybe they can make it a series, but even that feels like a little extra optimism. And instead, Dallas, without Miro Heiskanen, without Jason Robertson, and going in cold, had lost 7 straight. Mikko Rantanen had not been Mikko Rantanen on any non-Avalanche team this season, and they end up coming out of it with a 7-game victory and Mikko Rantanen looking like an absolute god.
Yeah, I mean, we said it last week. Has anybody had a more dramatic single season on a personal level than Mikko Rantanen? You making faces at the
Breaking news.
Rob Blake fired in LA.
Yeah.
Damn.
Let's do 5 minutes on that and then get back to Mikko Rantanen.
Okay.
Apologies to Mikko Rantanen. Rob Blake fired in LA.
That is
What do you do with that?
pretty crazy.
I think that means that Jim Hiller could be next, because famously, GMs come in and they want their own guy. So shit appears to be hitting the fan in LA after they were up 2-0 in a series in which they had scored 12 goals, chased a Western Conference winning goalie, we'll say, and everything looked gravy for them. They had harmonicas. They had Quentin Byfield taking the next step. Everything looked perfect, and they did not win another game.
That's kind of I don't know. Like, he's had a bit of a rocky tenure, I would guess, or I would say. But like, how much of that is on the GM? They had a good team. They should have won that series.
Are you saying like that gets a coach fired more than it gets a GM fired?
Yes.
I would agree. I'm trying to think.
Like, he got out from maybe the Pierre-Luc Dubois of it all, like, is a bad reflection on Blake. Like, hey, wish we could have that guy. Look how good he is in Washington. But at the same time, like, Darcy Kemper was awesome for LA this year. I don't know. It's a bit confusing to me.
Yeah, I mean,
if somebody was going to get fired first, it should have been Jim Hiller.
I agree. I think, though, the Kings, with where they are, might be looking like they have to blow it up-ish. Like, you're not trading... Oh, I heard some of the Nation guys talking about this. Like, the Kings, if they blow it up, are in such an interesting spot because Adrian Kempe makes $5.5 million
For one more year, right?
for one more year. But don't you get everything for that guy? Isn't every team in the world trying to trade you their fucking life for him?
They should be.
Kings don't have a great prospect pool. Been reading up on prospects a lot, getting ready for the lottery. They are ranked 26th in the NHL by The Athletic. It's considered deep in net and not really deep anywhere else, especially on defense, which it's a team that has played good team defense, but I kind of worried going into the playoffs for them. I'm like, they don't have a lot of like really good defensemen, though. They prevent chances, but they don't have like a lot of pillars, especially with Doughty aging out. I wonder now, new GM, we'll see what happens with the coach, but do you go to Doughty?
Yeah.
Do you can't go to Kopitar. I'd say you can trade Doughty. You can't trade Kopitar.
But I mean, if you're getting rid of one of them, I feel like it's no half measures. Like you always say that.
Yeah.
If you're gonna blow it up
Famously,
and rebuild,
that I was the first to say that.
Yeah.
Also, thank you.
If you're gonna blow it up and rebuild, you may as well go all the way. And like, I don't know. Like, I do wonder where this leaves them because in the language from Elliott's tweet, word this morning that Rob Blake and the LA Kings have mutually agreed to part ways. Which like maybe there's some truth to that. Maybe it's just for optics' sake. But like, if they are doing a rebuild and he doesn't want to be a part of it, that would be like his decision to step away as well. Like, what does that rebuild look like? And do they even fucking need it? That's my, I don't know. I don't know if they do.
Have you, whether in work or in relationships or whatever, I think that we've all mutually agreed to do a bunch of things. It was someone's idea, though.
Yeah, of course.
Like, we've agreed. So, yeah, agreed to do it. Hey, we think we should make a change. Well, yeah, I'm probably not going to be around here much longer anyway. I mean, I agree.
It could be from a place of like disagreeing on what the direction of the team should be and then like not having a clear path forward and then just saying, maybe this isn't working out for us. And that's a mutual parting of the ways.
I'm seeing some in the chat. I'm seeing some on the internet. Did the Oilers kill the Kings?
Yes, definitely.
I'm the only one who thinks maybe no. I don't know that the Oilers did that to the Kings.
If the Oilers didn't kill the Kings took the Oilers' sword and killed themselves with it.
That's what I think happened.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, yeah, but like, yeah, I think that either
way, the Kings are dead,
right? And the Oilers witnessed it. They either killed them.
They were the only other people in the
Kings
room.
Committed seppuku right in front of them.
Yeah, they were the only other people in the room. You walked out. The Kings were dead. And now we have a whodunit on our hands.
The Oilers were seen going into the room. I
watched Conclave last night. It's like the final meeting, the Pope's final meeting with the Cardinal, whatever.
Yeah,
it's like I don't know what happened in that meeting. All I know is you walked out, and the Pope was dead,
and somebody died.
Yeah.
They were seen going in. They were seen leaving, and the Kings were never seen again. I mean, I would love to, as an Oilers fan, I would love to say like, oh, that's right, Oilers take another whatever. That seems, and like I said last week, I don't know if it's the Kings can't get by the Oilers thing. All I know is the Kings have not made it out of the first round in 4 straight years. Yes, they have had the same opponent, but Kings fans, maybe it's a little convenient, and what do we call it? Copiism, to say it's just, man, Oilers are our boogeyman. You sure about that? Maybe this is a team that just can't win.
Maybe. I mean, either way, it's going to be interesting now to see what happens with LA. Like I genuinely don't know where they go or how aggressively they're planning on retooling their roster.
I mean, again, I Nation's guys said last week, you go to Doughty and you go to Kopitar, say, are you cool with either sucking or being on another team? Pick one of the two. I don't know if it's great behavior to let those guys pick, but I think that especially in the case of Kopitar, and I don't know why Kopitar has surpassed Doughty in my brain for that, but like Kopitar should be given the opportunity to be a lifer.
I would agree. I would agree, but again, I think that it's kind of bad business to go halfway.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you a team that would love Kopitar.
The Boston Bruins.
I mean, sure. I was going to say I can think of like 90 of them.
He wouldn't fit what the Bruins are doing right now.
Okay. Apologies to the Stars because they don't get much time now. We could say that Pete DeBoer 9-0 in Game 7s between New Jersey, San Jose, Vegas, and Dallas. An incredible stat. Although we were talking before the show, Pete was like, why do you keep going to Game 7? You forcing all those, or is somebody else forcing them? And the other one I say is like, how'd you do in Game 7 last year in the Western Conference Final? Oh, you didn't get there because you lost a series that you led in 6 games? Is this guy a loser?
I mean, regardless, the Game 7 number and the record is pretty impressive. To be like to constantly win Game 7s is cool. But yeah, like there are some asterisks there. Not super impressive.
We also, I mean, the Mikko Rantanen storyline, as you've said, no one's had a crazier season than this guy. And as I noted, has not been himself on any team other than the Colorado Avalanche. 2 goals in 13 games for the Hurricanes. 5 goals in 20 games for the Stars after the trade. 5 goals in 7 games in the playoffs. Just like the ultimate, like no matter what happens, get Mikko Rantanen into the playoffs, and he's a bad bitch. He had that.
Carolina Hurricanes tried.
Yeah, 4-point second period, was it, in Game 6? Yeah. And then the hat trick in Game 7. And we saw some, call him Mr. Game 7 stuff. Pete, say what you said before the show.
They have a Mr. Game 7. There's only one, and it's Cody Ceci.
Not only is there already a Mr. Game 7 in the NHL, that guy is on Mikko Rantanen's team from John Butchergross. This guy has no bias when it comes to Cody Ceci, okay? He's not at all linked to Cody Ceci for any play or any call ever, so just get over it. 23:45 time on ice and a +1 in the Stars Game 7 victory without Miro Heiskanen. 4 Game 7s for Ceci in the last 4 years. 2 goals, 1 primary helper, and a +3 on teams that scored a total of 10 goals. He was also a big part of Mikko Rantanen getting that hat trick because he was out there for the 6-on-5. This guy is a chief penalty killer for the Stars, is out there making sure the team closes it out late. We love our Cody Ceci, and we like to playfully overrate him. Not kidding, though, and I'm not going to be too dramatic about this, but like, thank God the Dallas Stars got Cody Ceci.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he's had quite like a redemption season, or at least for people who pay attention, like you see what he's been for that team and has been a godsend. You're right. Thank God that they have Cody Ceci. Maybe that is more a testament to their roster building and some of its flaws that you say that, but also he's been a very useful player for them in a lot of ways that like he wasn't thought to be a useful player previously.
I haven't tried to stir the pot in a long time, meaning stir the pot, like trying to manifest moves that I want to see happen in the NHL. Text people that might be in need of a certain player, or text the agent of a player and just say like, hey, like, am I crazy or does blank make sense for blank? Just to, in case you guys aren't already talking about it, just give yourself a little excuse of like, people are talking about this guy to this team. You know where Cody Ceci would be perfect?
Where?
This is insulting because whenever I say, you know where blank would be perfect, you always say Boston Bruins.
So you want me to say Boston Bruins?
Boston Bruins. Cody Ceci would be great for the Bruins. They're not going to be that good. They could use he'd be a third pairing defenseman on them, but the Bruins in this group, Cam Neely, Don Sweeney, they love good guys. They love vibes, except for when they accidentally sign maybe the wrong prospect. They love prioritizing good guys, if shit's not going to be fun and they're going to be not great for a little while, how do you keep everything from not being miserable than by giving Cody Ceci a 3-year contract?
A Cody Ceci, Nikita Zadorov pairing would feed families.
Cody
also kill many.
Yeah.
That's the only reason that I don't want Cody Ceci to the Bruins, is that I want him to be a useful player on a good team rather than being sort of like toiling with a team that's trying to get back to relevancy. And I also think that Bruins fans in the market would chew up Cody Ceci, and I don't want that.
That is fair and doesn't need any more chewing. He's already got a couple of beautiful dogs who do that. I just want to give a quick Avalanche season summary, okay? Because this was a whopper for them, and by the time they reached the playoffs, they were my honest favorite, meaning not emotional picking the Oilers favorite. They were my honest favorite to come out of the West, and I know they were for Petey as well, and we'll talk to him in a few minutes. But they start the season 0-4-0, then 5-7-0. On November 30th, they trade for Scott Wedgwood. On December 9th, they trade a second-round pick, Alex Georgiev, and more for Mackenzie Blackwood. Then on January 24th, when they are in wildcard position, they trade Mikko Rantanen and get Martin Necas, Jack Drury, Hurricanes' second-round pick in 2025, Hurricanes 2026 fourth. March 1st, they are still in the first wildcard spot. They trade for Charlie Lindgren and Jimmy Vesey. They give up a second-round pick and a fourth-round pick. I, quite frankly, had forgotten about that.
Ryan Lindgren,
my bad. At the deadline, they trade Callum Ritchie, their top prospect, for Brock Nelson, who's a UFA. They trade Casey Middlestat, the Hurricanes' second-round pick that they got in the Rantanen trade, and last year's third-round pick for Charlie Coyle. They finished third in the Central with a positively banging roster, deep down the middle, good defensemen, good goaltending, and they go up against a Dallas team that is both hobbled, no Heiskanen, no Robertson, and that Dallas team had lost 7 straight going into the postseason, and they lose. They now don't have picks in the first 3 rounds of each of the next 2 drafts. They only have 1 pick in the first 6 rounds this year.
They sold out, man. They sold out, and like obviously it didn't work out. But like, would you take back any of those deals?
I would not have done the Rantanen trade. I would have signed Rantanen and figured out the rest later. And especially now that the cap is going up, we've since learned, I for sure would have done that. Once they made that Rantanen trade, I would have done all those other things. And like looking at the landscape of the Western Conference, some of the injuries that were happening and just how some of these teams looked, I would have thought that the Western Conference was there for the taking. And I think it was. I think they were right to make those moves. Here is Nathan MacKinnon after Game 7.
Way it goes.
I know, like from the outside, people are going to look at this and say, look, 2 of the best teams in the league went to break down to the wire in Game 7. But is it hard for you guys to feel like you can win the Stanley Cup and go out in the first round?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they were missing their best D and maybe their best forward, so we still couldn't beat them. So, yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do.
Thanks, no, appreciate it.
I don't know what we're going to do is I don't even know if it's intentional, but just such a damning quote of like, we're kind of fucked. I don't think they are that fucked, but they are now suddenly in a quite unenviable situation or position because they basically have to sign Brock Nelson.
Yeah, and I mean there was talk about it when we were kind of discussing who needs this first round more. Like the Jets or the Avs sold out for this season, and if they didn't win that first round, then you look at kind of the outlook and you're like, damn, just like Nathan MacKinnon was there. Whereas Dallas fans were resigned to being like, this isn't our year. We made these moves for years down the line. We've got Rantanen locked up for 8 years. Like Wyatt Johnson's super young. Miro's not healthy. We don't need to have this one.
Correct.
They still got it. And they still have like the very, very positive long-term outlook. You're right. Like him sitting there and saying, I don't know what they're going to do, or I don't know what we're going to do. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Yeah. We're supposed to be looking at their outlook and being like, damn, it's kind of crazy. Like, I wonder which way they go here. You don't want Nathan McKinnon doing that. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, Dr. Smacken, I believe it was, in the chat said, so in summary, they traded Rantanen and have no picks.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, they really should have signed Rantanen. Do we have any super chats, Sean? Yeah, we've got one from Eileen. I would die for my Lord and Savior, Mikko Rantanen. I believe Eileen is Eileen a
Stars fan.
Oh, okay, Stars fan.
I have been very much enjoying her back and forth with Katie, who is an Avs fan.
Oh, poor Katie.
Yeah, I know. They've just been like so nice to each other
So
the whole
nice.
time.
Well, kind of, because Katie said something about how she wants them to lose, how she wants the Stars to end up losing in like the worst fashion possible. And Eileen said, "That's so mean. Respect." And I like that energy.
But I will say Eileen has been riding for Mikko Rantanen all year long, even like while he wasn't very good. Was like, don't worry, Mikko Rantanen will come alive. Congrats, Eileen. You bought those low stocks, and now you're cashing in.
From Bobby Ballantyne. Roller coaster season. Avs don't need big changes. Went 3 for 22 on the power play. Go 4 for 22 and win the series. And then who knows? That's where Game 7s will get you. Awfully close. Okay. Let me tell you about, if you are trying to get to any of these second round games, because they be happening, Vivid Seats, okay? Playoffs underway. We know that you want to be in the arena, and Vivid Seats is the best place to get your tickets for any live event. They have the best selection of games and seats, and every purchase is backed by their 100% buyer guarantee. Plus, Vivid Seats is the only ticket marketplace that rewards you for every purchase. So download the Vivid Seats app and start earning rewards towards free tickets. New Vivid Seats users who use promo code CHAOS30 will receive $30 off their first purchase of $300 or more. Once again, click the link in the show notes, go to vividseats.com, or download the Vivid Seats app and use promo code CHAOS30 for $30 off your first purchase of $300 or more. When it comes to playoff hockey, being there is all that matters, so experience it live with Vivid Seats.
Also want to talk about our lovely sugar daddies in Prize Picks. They've supported us for quite a long time at this point, and you know we love them because Prize Picks is the best way to play daily fantasy sports. You fill out your Prize Picks lineups with player props, and you pick more or less. You combine a bunch of them. You can go cross sports, whether NHL, NBA, esports. Sean, what else you got on there?
I know they have darts sometimes.
They have darts?
Oh yeah, darts.
Damn.
They have all kinds of stuff.
Prize Picks gets crazy, and the app is super easy to use. You just create a lineup, you pick more or less, and then you can go up to 1,000x your money. It's absolutely crazy, super easy to use, super fun to supplement your sports watching experience. DJ calls it the glass of wine. It is perfect. We love doing it. Download the app today and use code WhatChaos to get $50 off your first $5 lineup. That is code WhatChaos after you download the app to get $50 off instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
Okay, let's get to our guy from inside the coach's room, longtime video coach of the Arizona Coyotes. We were texting with him a lot throughout the first round because video coaches were coming up because I think they were being ignored. And if you want to go back and watch previous stuff we've done with him, he's explained what it's like being a video coach when all this shit is going down. It's the great Steve Peters. Hello, Petey.
Hi, you guys. Great show, by the way. Like I sit in the green room before I come on every time, and this show is absolutely amazing. I'm dialed in. I love the way you guys talk about hockey. This is so much fun.
We discuss the issues. Gary Bettman famously said that. So we're just trying to sift through the issues.
That's right.
Well,
speaking of sifting through the issues.
Can I start off with I usually start off with a complaint. Can I complain right away to start? So I as you guys do, you watch all these games, and this is daunting, and it's exhausting in the first round. There's 3-4 games a day, every single day. And I also work some of these games, so I work at night, and I don't get to sit down and just relax for a night. You know when that night was? It was last night. It was Sunday night. Games at 4 out here in the West. It'll be over 6:30, 6:45, easy. Watch a movie, have a soda, and just relax in front of the TV. Finally, let the hockey just kind of get out of the system just for a few hours. And then the Jets and the Jets and the Blues did that to me. Like, I was so angry at those two teams for not just letting me enjoy my Sunday night with my dog and my wife and just hang out. And I had to be sitting on the edge of my seat for another 2.5 hours. So starting off a little grumpy today on Monday morning.
Oh, come on. That's the best way to enjoy that night. You think you wanted that peace and quiet. I'll tell you, you did not. You didn't. That was an unbelievable Game 7, unbelievable drama. And while we're talking about sorting through the issues, the number one thing that I want to talk with you about today is Connor Hellebuyck. Sorting through his own issues. What is your report card for Connor Hellebuyck after that first round? What is your confidence level in him going into the second round?
There's a huge concern here. And this is hard because he's outstanding during every regular season. We've said it all, and he struggles in the playoffs. But what happens is you start to build that resume of, okay, can he win in the playoffs? And we said this going into this series, that this is the St. Louis Blues team that gets to net hard. They can roll 4 lines, and they're very dangerous around the blue paint. This was not a great series for Connor Hellebuyck to start this playoff series on. And it's unfortunate they had to face the St. Louis Blues right out of the hop because they were buzzing. And you know what? It was a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I know he's a professional athlete, and I know they're strong-willed and they're competitive, and all of those things are true. But you read it every day, you hear it every day, and if you don't believe they're mumbling that in the locker room, like, gosh, I don't know, can Helly do this? Can he get us through this first round? But by Game 4, they're going, we're in one again. And it even got to the point where you're questioning who you're starting in goal for the Winnipeg Jets. Like, that's unfathomable. So it's interesting to me now. I think I believe that weight's off his shoulders now. I believe we'll see the Hellebuyck we saw in the last 2 overtimes, because in the last 2 overtimes he was good. He saw the puck, he pulled the puck in, he was really good, dialed in, and he tracked the puck incredibly well. But throughout the series, he didn't. And he didn't. And they weren't just bad goals; they were goals he has to stop if you want to win in the playoffs. And the only hope for Winnipeg is now that demon has been exercised, and now you get to round 2, and now we can play. And now you could, okay, I'm past that. I've proven I can win in the playoffs, at least in the first round. And now I can finally just be Connor Hellebuyck and go play. Because that's the way he looked in the 2 overtimes last night. He just looked like the goalie. You go, okay, he's got this. And you just had that confidence. Unfortunately, Binnington had that exact same confidence at the other end of the day. So you thought this one could go forever. But yeah, it's a huge question in how he is going to perform Game 1 at home against I hate to say it, a much, much better hockey team than they faced in the St. Louis Blues.
Well, a fun little storyline in that series is going to be Hellebuyck versus Jake Ottinger, who are probably the 2 guys that are vying for the Team USA net in the Olympics. Do you think that Hellebuyck has lost the net? Like, where does it stand? Is it potentially up for grabs here in this series?
But it's hard because the Olympics is like the playoffs. The Olympics is you have 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. It's a short tournament that you have to win every single game, just like in the playoffs. And you saw it in the Four Nations face-off where Hellebuyck was great. Beats Canada in the game that didn't matter. But when it mattered and all the chips are down and you got to play for that medal or that trophy, he didn't come through with his best performance. And you get concerned. There is no time to wait in the Olympics. You have to hit the ground running. It's so early. Like, they'll start off next season and see who's rolling into the playoffs and who's the better goalie at the time. And it may be Connor Hellebuyck at that time. But I will say this: there will be no waiting. There will be no one bad goal and bang, we're flipping the switch. We're going to Ottinger right now. We're going to Otter because we talk about the Americans' depth in goal, and that's something that has been their strength as we've talked over the last year about going into the Four Nations and also the Olympics. And now you start to go, geez, Canada didn't have anybody. Who's even Canada going to pick? And now you got, buddy, they got their guy. Like, Canada's got their guy. Canada is not worried about goaltending at all heading into the Olympics right now. And guess what? It ain't Aiden Hill. So Binnington's got the torch. He is the Canadiens goalie, and they have so much confidence in him because, to your point, earlier in the show, you said he's a winner. The dude can win. And that St. Louis Blues team wasn't as good as Winnipeg coming into this, but he leveled the playing field and made them better. I don't know if Hellebuyck gives everybody the warm fuzzies in a 2-week tournament. I don't know. I think he'll probably get the nod if he starts off as well as he did this year. But Ottinger's right there, and Ottinger's banging on the door going, hey, I'm ready. And this series may be one of those testing grounds to go, okay, I'm ready to take this mantle over from Hellebuyck, and we'll see where it goes.
Well, Hellebuyck goes up against the Stars, and Petey, you and I both had the Avalanche making a deep run this postseason. What did the Stars do? What are the Stars doing right now? And do we go from, you know what, this just isn't their year, they're a little hobbled, to maybe they waltz to the Western Conference Final, and once they're there and they're healthy, Do they go further than they did a year ago?
Well, this was hard because this is the team I really liked. And at some points during the season, I said this is the team that could win the cup. But that was also a healthy team. And when you put the Colorado Avalanche on paper, I'll tell you this right now. I think I know stuff about hockey because I watch as much hockey as anybody on the planet. Like, I just do.
Okay,
I watch
Connor
a ton of
Hellebuyck
hockey.
voice. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, I study goaltending more than anyone. But the point is, when you finish game 82, the teams you looked at that go, my gosh, they could go for a long run in this series were the Tampa Bay Lightning, who had the hottest goalie since the Four Nations in Vasilevsky. Their scoring depth was amazing. They acquired bottom six guys at the trade deadline. You go, Tampa. Tampa's going to get through Florida because Florida's hobbled. They won't start off right away on game one because they've struggled on the last 10. They'll get through Florida, and they're going to go right to the finals. The same thing can be said for Colorado. This is a team that did everything they needed to, as you guys alluded to, what they did up the middle for their depth. They made every trade move correct except the one that's going to haunt them. And I don't know how McFarland and Sakic can sleep right now and letting Rantanen go. And I'm telling you, those guys in the locker room are pissed. They are so mad at their management right now because Rantanen didn't get that phone call saying, hey, you take this deal or we're going to trade you. He didn't get that call. You got to give that player that opportunity to go, okay, whoa, okay, I want to be here. I love it here. This is where I want to be. I love Colorado. This is my team, my teammates. I want to go to war with them. Well, let's hang on and figure something out. He didn't get that opportunity. And you know who knows that? We know it. You know who else does? The players. And the players are pissed. And Rantanen took it and shoved it right up their rear end. And I'm guaranteeing that first call is to McFarland. Hey, how's that trade looking now? Because that ruined that team. And you know that locker room's thinking, what the hell did we do? We have that guy in our room. We roll the Stars in the first round. I know we got Natchez, who was great. He had one goal in the playoffs. Buddy, Nelson, none. Coyle, none. They didn't get the second start. Nice players. Did everything they could have done. But if you put Rantanen in a Colorado Avalanche sweater for that series, it's not close without Heiskanen and without Robertson. Colorado wins that series. So the players are frustrated with what their management has done. But that's another team. That's my finals. It was Tampa and Colorado. So who's the hockey genius now? I don't know. Like, that's how tight this series and the parity in this league right now. It's who's playing the best hockey now. Can the Dallas Stars win this the Western Conference? Absolutely. And as they become healthier, Heiskanen, you talk about Ceci. Cody Ceci was phenomenal because he had to be. He was great. You talk about Thomas Harley stepping up to the plate and how well he played. Esa Lindell played better defensively. This is a defense that we said was going to be weak because they didn't have Heiskanen. And yet here they are, and they defended extremely well against a much better, stronger, faster, more offensive team than the Winnipeg Jets. And they just beat them. So this series, there's a lot going to be relying on this series. And you've already brought it up. This is going to be which goaltender's better. And this is going to be a heck of a battle for Team USA.
You know what? I did not. I overlooked on the McKinnon quote because I was just so stunned by the raw emotion and the honesty there. The translation of, so I don't know what, we just played a team that didn't have their number one defenseman or one of their top scorers, and we still didn't beat them, so I don't know what we're going to do. I took that as like where do we stand now? Maybe that was just like a nice one, boys. Cool.
Oh, for sure it's at management. 100% it's at management. You know, the second that series was over and the guy that did it to him, if Rantanen gets no goals in this series and he's which is what I expected, he was going to have a tough time playing Colorado and they were going to beat him up and they were going to be tough on him. And they were physical in front of him net. But that second that bell rung and he had a hat trick and 4 points in 2 straight games, they are MRF-ing their management right now. And I'm telling you, they're throwing their helmets and gloves when they got in that locker room and they're blaming the general manager. I guarantee it that they go, we let this guy go. We let him go and we didn't give him a chance to make a better deal. And they're pissed. And this is going to be a tough summer to rebuild that bridge between management and players. I believe that wholeheartedly because right now players are going, this is what you did to us. We had a team that could have won the Stanley Cup. Now what? Now, where are we for the next 2 or 3 years? And I really think it hurt their confidence. Luckily for them, they brought Landeskog back when they did, because I do think that brought them a shot in the arm inside the room. But this is a big deal. And I don't think that pain from this loss, because of how they lost and who they lost to, is going to go away for a long time. Look for the Colorado Avalanche to start off slow at the beginning of next season.
Okay, well, I mean, they certainly did that this year. Let's talk about the other series in the Western Conference. And if you were to guess which of these teams, Edmonton and Vegas, would be coming out of a nail-biter, very, very, very close series, you would probably guess that Edmonton and LA played that series, and in the end, it didn't really end up being that. It's Vegas that kind of gets by through the skin of their teeth against Minnesota. They have to be, like, in my estimation, the most opposite opponent from LA than they could possibly be. So what does Edmonton do against them? And am I right in seeing this as a much, much, much different series than what we just saw?
Absolutely. And one of the things when you go to the Vegas Golden Knights and you think one of their strengths is going to be their depth, and you look at the Minnesota Wild, and the Minnesota Wild aren't ready. They're not ready to win. They did it on the backs of Kaprizov and Boldy, period. They have two good players, a top line, and their goaltender was extremely good. But Minnesota is not a deep team. And they had a problem putting this team away. They didn't have the offensive depth that you expected them to have. When you look at the first round of playoffs, goals for in the first round of playoffs, they're 12th. And the power play, they're 7th. That's very, very average against a team that they should have rolled over in 5. I believe that they're a much better team than Minnesota, but they didn't play that way. And now you go to take on the Edmonton Oilers, who, by the way, are first in every offensive category, first in goals for, second in power play. Like, Edmonton can put up numbers. That's a concern for Vegas. This isn't a slam dunk like it was a couple seasons ago where Vegas, you go, okay, I think Vegas is a better team. Vegas has got to play much, much, much better than they did in the first round. I still think there are some intangibles in this series that slide slightly in favor Vegas in this one. We maybe talk about that a little bit later. But Edmonton's got to go into this going, hey, this is a winnable series for us. We got through the juggernaut, but we can actually get through this and beat the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about like last week, Edmonton's that team that if you have them on the ground and you have the gun pointed at them, you have to pull the trigger and not deliver this monologue that allows them to get off the ground and steal the gun from you. And it feels like they might have the gun now. I do wonder, we know what the X factors are for Edmonton. They're two big names. probably can name them.
Bouchard.
Yeah, that's right. And
Bouchard.
And Janmark.
And that's right. But
Frederick.
For Vegas, like maybe outside of Jack Eichel, who we know is going to be an X factor here, like what is the key for Vegas to get past Edmonton?
Well, one of the big things that they can do that you didn't see from LA, and I think that we alluded to that in the show where you talked about the manager and Jim Hiller in LA, not playing a third line for the entire series. And you look at the depth in Vegas, I think when I looked at the lines, and the fourth line in LA average, Helenius played 358, Malott 450, Trevor Lewis 410. You go to Vegas, Olofsson's playing 13-2, and Howden's playing 12 over 12 and a half minutes. I think that's going to make a difference. And they're playing meaningful minutes that can keep the puck and grind the puck in the corners and be a little bit more physical and keeping the puck down low. You can't play 3 lines in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You can't. And as much as we talk about the Edmonton Oilers being a one-line team, look at how they spread their ice time out over the first round. And their fourth line actually was effective. And Janmark and Arvidsson getting on the board. Brown, Henrique, and Frederick, that line was great. So I think the bottom 6 just ended up getting over on the LA Kings. I'm not sure they're going to be able to do that against Vegas. I think that one of the other keys in this series is the ice time at home. Vegas starts off at home, so you get the last change, and they've still put Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl together as of practice today. Now, game 1, they may do a big surprise and split them up. But if you keep them together, your focus is on that line. And you're going to see Jack Eichel and the top line of the Vegas Golden Knights getting a big chunk of Connor McDavid. And people talked about Eichel, like him or hate him. Dude can play defense. Like, he can skate, he can keep up, he's got a good stick, and he can stay above players if you give him that assignment. The one-on-one battle in his head, after being second in the draft behind Connor McDavid, this is a chance. I'm going to get the responsibility to defend Connor McDavid at home on our ice and defend the Vegas ice. I think there's going to be a huge matchup. Eichel versus McDavid in game 1 and 2. I really do. And it's not so much Eichel putting up numbers. It's him keeping McDavid from getting on the scoreboard. And I do think that's where Vegas will have the advantage because of last change at home. I do think their depth, because you get through their lineup as you go deeper, and you talk about some of the guys, you talk about Thomas Hertl coming out in the next group. And even later in the lineup, that Howden line's been good. Riley Smith and Barbashev have been good. Like, they're deeper, I think, than Edmonton. And I think they're going to be more physical on Edmonton's D. And you've got to wear down Bouchard and Nurse. You've got to wear them down. You got to be punishing them every single forecheck. So I think this series is going to be extremely tight. It's going to be extremely tight, and it's who can be better between number 9 and number 97.
Let's do 2 quick minutes on this. I'll go from Pete to Petey. There is at least a little murmuring that we are seeing that we might see Stuart Skinner in this series for the Oilers, maybe even to begin this series. Pete, I would like your thoughts, and then Petey's.
I think it's crazy. I'm shocked, and we've been in this position before where we've had the discussion. Like, Stuart Skinner has a higher ceiling, so you have to try to make it work with him in net. I just think that he was so bad in round 1 that it is not worth the instability that you might get by having him in there. Pickard has been solid, stable. His ceiling is lower, but his hand is steadier. And I think that you need the steady hand because, like Petey said, this series is probably going to come down to which team makes more mistakes and which goaltender is more likely to make the mistakes in between the pipes. And it's Stuart Skinner. I wouldn't play him.
Well, this is interesting because this is what I said the last time I was on the show is who would you start the next game? And I came out and said you'd start Skinner because you're going to find yourself against the wall if you make a mistake and play Pickard and then you lose. And now what? Well, you're in the same situation with Pickard winning now. Because now you've got Calvin Pickard right now, and let's face it, in this playoffs, he's got an .893 save percentage. He's given up 3 or more in four of those wins, and gave up 5 goals twice. Like, dude's not George Vezina back there right now. And the Edmonton Oilers aren't winning the cup with Calvin Pickard. I like Calvin Pickard. I think he's a great teammate. I think he's a great number 2. I really like him. He's done the things he's needed to do for now. The LA Kings were 14th in goals for during the regular season. The Vegas Golden Knights are 5th. Vegas has the 4 lines that can roll, and they are going to be punishing in the blue paint. They're driving the net 5-on-5, and they're driving the net off of the rush. They're going to be very hard to defend in front of the net, and I don't know if Calvin Pickard can do that for 7 games. So having said that, he's going to have to start game 1. You have no choice. Like, he's the guy that won and got you there. Calvin Pickard is going to have to start. You're not going to win this series with Calvin Pickard. You're going to win this series on the back of Skinner. And I hate to say it, but Pickard's a backup. And I know guys don't want to be delineated as a backup or not backup. Dude gave up 4 and 5 goals in the series 3 times in the last 4 games. He's not ready for this. Stuart Skinner's been there. You're going to have to pass the baton to Skinner at some point in the series. It's just a matter of when.
I think that you have to start Pickard to begin the series, and I think that Pickard and Skinner were both bad in the first round, and Pickard was in net when the Oilers started to play a little better defense, and that let Pickard level out, and by the end of the series, I felt good about Pickard. At no point did I feel good about what was happening when Skinner was in net, so I understand Pickard has to be the guy to start. I wouldn't say definitively that they can't beat the Knights with Pickard in net, but I agree that if you're going for the thing that they did last year against Vancouver, which is like, if we're making a run, what does our roster look like? If they have that mindset, then at some point I think Skinner becomes the guy. Maybe, though, you wait until you get home, because unless Pickard stinks in game 1, I think that you give him the first 2 games. But we shall see. It looks like he will be the guy to begin the series, but we're just seeing far more rumblings and far more murmurings about the possibility of Skinner than I would have expected. I would have thought they would say, like, it's clearly Pickard's net now, and we'll go from there. But I don't think either goalie has been good enough this year to definitively have the net going forward. All right. Can the Leafs, or really, quite frankly, anybody, beat the Panthers, Petey?
No. And this is... I thought this team was... Tkachuk was hurt. Ekblad was suspended. They hadn't played together. Tkachuk never played on a team with Marchand until game 1. I said, okay, they're going to start off slow. They're going to be behind the 8 ball, and they're going to be out of the series. Dude, they came to play game 1, and this team... There's just something about it, the confidence level and the swagger that this Florida Panther team possesses when they get on the ice. I don't care if we're playing at home, on the road. It doesn't matter. We're just going to play the same way. We're going to pound you through the glass. We're going to be unbelievable through the neutral zone. We're not going to give you any room to breathe in any of the 3 zones. And oh, by the way, if you get through, Bob's got it in the back end. This Florida Panther team right now looks like a team that's going to repeat for a Stanley Cup champion. They look that good. The issue for Toronto is Toronto hasn't faced a team like Florida playing like Florida yet in this playoffs. Ottawa ground it out, and they were the little engine that could, and they tried really hard, but they weren't Florida. And everything that Ottawa did to Toronto that made Toronto look bad, Florida does it and does it better. They get to the net harder. They forecheck harder. Their engine runs longer. Florida does everything better. Toronto's hope. And if Toronto is going to win the series, because Toronto did show some balanced scoring throughout this playoffs, and it wasn't just the core 4, which we're getting tired of because Matty Nyes was their best player during this first round, and Tavares. So the Toronto Maple Leafs have to get the puck out of the zone. And I'm going to say game 1, if I'm the Toronto Maple Leafs head coach, we're hard rimming every single dumped puck the entire first game. We are not going to let our defensemen get hit. We're not going to have any battles along the wall. We're going to get back and we're firing that sucker. I don't care if it's icing, but we're not going to get pounded against our wall behind the goal line. We're wingers, get ready because that puck's coming along the wall. And I think if you can do that and beat that first level of that forecheck over and over and over again, Florida's got to back off. They can't bring three guys consistently, especially when you're looking at Nylander and Marner and Nyes and Matthews getting the puck at the blue line for 3-on-2s consistently. That might back off and eliminate some of that pressure early. But if they can't do that and they can't get by that first layer of this forecheck, this is going to be a very, very tough series for the Toronto Maple Leafs to try to get over on the Florida Panthers.
I was gonna say, how do you seem very confident that Florida is going to win. What do you think it's going to look like? Is it going to be quick? Is it going to be, because like the Panthers dismantled and suffocated Tampa, and they were a great offensive team during the regular season. So like, what is it going to look like for Toronto in this series?
Florida takes away your will. They go, we can't do this. And I think the first two games are going to be incredibly competitive because they're in Toronto. You're going to get the home crowd. They feel like these are going to be tight games. They might even beat Florida in one of these games at home, but they're going to be tight. I expect an overtime game or a close 1-goal game with an empty netter in these games in Toronto. But Florida's going to eventually suck the will out of them, that you can't move. And you've seen this Toronto team with their hands down and their body language on shoulders. We can't do this. And they need to get to that point in this series. And I don't think that's going to happen until game 3 or 4 where they go, oh, we can't beat this team. And I think that frustration level is going to spread throughout the locker room, and you're just going to see the frustration. And then I think the big boys will go away. This series could go 6. I think it could be a longer series, but Florida's they're just too tough. And emotionally, they just wear you down. And Toronto's going to have to find a way to finally go, we're the Toronto Maple Leafs and we're big and mighty. And I don't know if they've got that. I don't know if they've got that in that room that can go, we're the big mighty guys. The Florida Panthers got Tkachuk. And you could say what you want about him, and he's a little bit dirty and hits late, and all those things may be true. But dude's got an engine, and he is pulling that Florida Panthers through the mud and the muck and the mire, and he is going to roll this Toronto Maple Leaf team that want to stay all pretty and keep their uniforms all nice, and hey, we're the fancy flyer flying around Walendas. But they can't beat him. You can't beat him that way. You're going to have to get into the mud with Florida, and I don't know if Toronto has that team.
I'm so stupid. I just realized this as you were explaining how this series is going to go. You know what's going to happen? Panthers are going to beat the Leafs. Leafs are going to lose Marner in free agency, and the Leafs are going to sign Brad Marchand, thinking that that's what they're missing. It's going to be the worst.
Wow. I don't know if Marchand will go to Toronto. I hope that he would just say, "Nah, I'm good," but never know.
I don't think he would either, but it would just be so. If he wants to be the Joker,
it would kill me. I think that there's a good chance that Florida puts Toronto in like an absolute mental warfare box during this series, and I would love every second of it. But I will say, Sean, do you have any Conn Smythe futures still alive?
Oh,
Calvin Pickard.
Okay.
He's the only one.
Duh.
I would say
and,
Calvin Pickard's a solid one. Love the odds on that. Now would be a good time to put in an Anthony Stolarz futures bet for Conn Smythe, because if they beat the Panthers, it's going to be because of Anthony Stolarz, and you're going to have a pretty nice path to get to the Stanley Cup final. And then at that point, God knows what could happen. A Stolarz Conn Smythe future would probably be a good bet right now.
That's a great call, and I'll add to it. I don't see the Leafs growing into this series. I don't see the Leafs figuring something out with Florida. I think that if the Leafs are going to get past Florida, it's with like a must-win victory tonight and get a lead thanks to home ice advantage, and then just try to go downhill from there. I cannot imagine, like I said, the Leafs kind of like getting through each obstacle and figuring out Florida and then coming out on top. They need to start the series with the lead, like 1 or 2 games, and then just survive. Because I don't think that you, with the exception of last year's Stanley Cup final, you don't figure out the Florida Panthers. You survive them.
Mm-hmm.
Petey, we love you, my guy. Thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate this. This was a lot of fun, and all of these series are absolutely amazing, and I can't wait to see where this one ends up by next week.
Even if you're not on social media, get on social media to follow Petey, because it is very important. You see all of his video breakdowns. He posts them on Twitter as well as YouTube, but really YouTube, Inside the Coach's Room, is where you find all of it. I go there after all these games because I want to see how things happened and who we should be mad at and yelling about. Petey, you're the greatest. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Can't wait to talk again soon.
All right, it's the great Steve Peters. You can see him on every show now because shows, I think, thanks to all he's done, but also thanks to us not shutting the fuck up about him, people are like, yeah, let's get that guy.
You're taking credit for Petey's success?
I'm taking credit for people being like, he comes on here and is so much smarter than us that other shows have reached out and been like, you think he would do that same thing for us? I'm like, yeah, he would. He's a legend. NHL Draft Lottery is tonight. Let's preview it a little bit. Sean, do you have the odds? Throw them up there. All right. Best odds are the San Jose Sharks because famously they were absolutely horrible. And you see the two columns there. The one on the left is chances to win the lottery. The one on the right is chances to pick first overall. Teams can only move up a maximum of 10 spots. So once you get to the Red Wings at 12 or the Columbus, Utah, Vancouver, Montreal, those are all, they can win the lottery, but they can't get the first overall pick. They do 2 drawings, and teams can move up 10 spots. The first drawing, if the team wins, they get the first overall pick. Goes from there. And you see San Jose, Chicago, Nashville, Philadelphia, Boston, Seattle, Buffalo, Anaheim, Pittsburgh, Islanders, Rangers, Detroit, Columbus, Utah, Vancouver, and Montreal. We will be streaming for the draft lottery tonight. We go live on the What Chaos YouTube at 6:30 p.m. Eastern in the United States, Canada, Finland, Japan, everywhere.
Sure.
You can get us anywhere.
That's
okay?
right.
This is an exclusive. This is a one-time only. You can
Mr.
watch
Worldwide.
us wherever.
I think Japan. Will Japan be tomorrow at that point? Oh,
Could be.
you wouldn't even be able to say May 5th in Japan. I think it might be May 6th.
We
at
should
that point.
act like it's a special thing. We should be like, this time you can watch it from Japan.
We're going global.
Global. Oh yeah, global lottery stream, and then like put like watch from anywhere in the world.
You think North Korea gets it?
I
Might
don't know.
be tough.
I feel like probably not.
Probably not.
They might. I mean, they might have a way to get. Are they?
Is it like one of those Italy doesn't have AC things?
I don't know if it's quite.
I just feel
that.
like North Korea's internet might be different.
It definitely is.
Yeah, I mean, famously there are different rules.
I mean, there's the whole thing about like how people from like the other side of the border will fly over like little like USBs that have like Western movies on it
Yes,
to try
that you
and
can't
break
watch.
like the whole brainwashing thing they have going on. I like the idea of people risking their entire freedom sneaking over what
To
chaos.
watch, like,
Watch-
yeah,
watch
to watch
Lost.
the draft lottery stream.
not even the draft lottery. Us watching the draft lottery.
That's right.
Okay, so Dr. Smacken says this show is banned in North Korea. This show specifically.
That's right.
Yes.
This show, this episode, this whole thing. Okay, we'll do some pre-lottery stuff by going through some thoughts and a little quick project that I did on the NHL draft. Something I wanted to do last week, but quite frankly, I forgot, so we'll do it now, but it makes it a little more relevant, immediate, is discuss the teams that most deserve to win the draft lottery. We each came up, Pete and I, with our top 5 teams that deserve to win the draft lottery. And Sean, do you have a full screen for both, or do you just want to go one at a time?
I have one at a time.
Okay, let's go first with who should go first?
You can go first.
I'll go first. Sean, give me the top 5 teams I have to win the lottery.
Gross.
Yeah,
This whole thing, I was putting
Gross.
this together and I was like, what's going on here?
yeah. I put a lot of thought into this, and I changed the list a bunch of times. There were teams that were on there that no longer are, and if you're listening on audio, you see that I have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I have Utah Hockey Club, Boston Bruins, Nashville Predators, Philadelphia Flyers, and Seattle Kraken. My explanation for the Kraken is they need that shit so bad. They are at such great risk of being mid and forgettable and underwhelming, maybe forever. They're not an exciting team right now. They have the 10th best prospect pool by The Athletic. A lot of these teams that are worse, and you say like they need a guy where they have guys coming. Seattle does not have guys coming. 2, Philadelphia Flyers. If you're going to turn this thing around, you better do it quick. You got Jetlachenko coming, and maybe he'll be something. But other than that, not a lot of strong reserves coming. 3, Nashville Predators. They get there for the same reason I was going to have the Chicago Blackhawks there, which is they tried. They really tried to load up and surround their pieces with other pieces and become good now. and they fucked up so badly. So I wonder if they do belong on there, because maybe this is punishment for the hockey gods saying, you know what, you were closer to a rebuild. And that run that you had post U2 concert a couple of years ago, that was lucky. You shouldn't have built around that. But they tried, and they failed spectacularly. They traded Askarov. They need something to come in and rejuvenate this group. 4 is where it gets controversial, the Boston Bruins.
Why?
Because they've been assholes and they've sucked at drafting. And because they've sucked at drafting, they've had to trade all their draft picks for veterans. And now they have no young, good players. Their best young players are guys that they got as like extra pieces in deals at the deadline. I think that non-Bruins fans would say, no. Fuck you. You wait your turn. You suck for a while. You don't get the first overall pick, because if any of these top 4 teams won the lottery, they would pick first overall. And then 5th, this is just selfish, Utah Hockey Club, who can only get to 4th, I believe. I want them to win the lottery, trade that shit, and just be bomb, because they do have good players.
I like that last pick. I mean, I have some issues with like the Kraken and the Predators, because like you give them credit for trying and fucking up and failing. I don't. Like, I feel like that's a reason to not win the lottery.
That's what, especially with the Predators, I was unsure whether I go them. I wasn't going to have both the Predators and the Blackhawks. I was going to pick one of those two teams who tried last offseason to get a bunch of guys. And with the Blackhawks, the reason I left them out is like, you got the first overall pick and the second overall pick back-to-back years. You got to kind of sink or swim at some point.
I do. I get the energy and the thinking behind the Kraken, because the Kraken are so deeply uninteresting.
Uninteresting, man.
And like,
I feel like it's good for the league.
It is
figure it
pretty
out.
good for the league. And like the Kraken needs something. I get it. Fine. But like they tried. They had a big free agency spending last summer on Brandon Montour and Chandler Stevenson. Like, you get what you fucking deserve. What was that? Joker voice.
Yeah.
You get what you fucking deserve.
I don't like being the person sitting next to you on a set when that sentence is said. Give me your top 5.
Yeah, I would love to. I'm sure people are not going to be surprised. Number 1, the Boston Bruins, because that's a team I care about the most, and this season has sucked. It has been a very painful season, and I give them credit for selling out and just tearing it down to the studs at the deadline. They effectively tanked. They should get rewarded with the number 1 overall pick. I know everybody's going to be mad about that. I don't care. Suck on it. Number 2, I have the Columbus Blue Jackets, and I'm not going to go full Frank Saravalli here by saying they're getting extra spiritual help, but like it would be a nice little bow on what was a good season for the Blue Jackets if they somehow like ended up winning the lottery too.
I considered the Blue Jackets, and I believe the Blue Jackets could get to third.
Yeah.
They could get to 3rd. The reason I did not put the Blue Jackets, and the reason I would have put the Blue Jackets, was because, of course, they lost one of their best players. And it seems, at the very least, nice if they could get another great young player. Here's why I didn't put them.
They don't need it.
They don't need, actually, credit to them, the Blue Jackets do not need a top 3 pick.
But they could trade it.
They've got Cade Lindstrom coming. Yes, same reason you could say for the Utah Hockey Club. But really, like, they do not need that shit, and that's a credit to them.
Yeah,
Give me the Sharks. This is controversial.
The Sharks, yeah, like they tanked. They tanked effectively, and they were still fun and awesome. Like, good vibes. San Jose. Is it boring to have the same team win the lottery 2 years in a row? Yeah. You as an Oilers fan might say no, but guess what?
Keep doing it, baby.
I think that the Sharks getting another nice piece here would be fun. And, if they want to trade it, they can. I put 4, the Blackhawks, just because the vibes are basically the opposite reason as the Sharks. The vibes are so bad in Chicago, and I know that they had a better, more positive finish to the season. Help my guy Connor Bedard get another piece in there. The league is better off if the Blackhawks are pretty good, and whether that means winning the lottery or just having something go right for them, I'll take the Blackhawks in there. And then number 5, I have the Pittsburgh Penguins, because sort of like the Kraken, but in a much different position, I guess. Like, the Penguins have things there that you're interested in, but I just don't want to see them become like increasingly increasingly depressing.
You know they're already
in
there.
the final years of Crosby.
You know they're already there.
I know, but like, give him something. Give him something to kind of bridge the gap, I guess.
Okay, biggest talker there, I think, is the Sharks, because I left the Sharks off my list despite them having the best chances and the fact they're the worst team in the NHL. I think that they sold too much. They tanked too much. And when you're bad, you got to kind of do that, but
they did it smartly.
Kind of.
I mean,
trade CC.
Wallman.
That's fine. Wallman, I don't know about. Like, it's not easy to get top 4 defensemen. And if you're really trying to build something there, and maybe, who knows? I mean, famously, Detroit gave Jake Wallman away. Maybe he's this horrible guy that we don't know about. But it was just so apparent that they were like, doesn't matter, asset,
right.
future. And that, to me, I'm like, when you just had the first overall pick, it's just that I don't totally disagree with it, but I think that you shouldn't get rewarded for it.
I disagree.
And you're going to have a top 3 pick either way.
I think if you've got your eyes on the prize, and it's the lottery, basically, tank effectively, and they did.
One team we did not discuss, the Buffalo Sabres. Sean, give me your thoughts on the Buffalo Sabres and whether they should win the lottery and whether you'd like them to.
Yeah, sure. It'd be cool if they did. I think they deserve to win the lottery more than a lot of the teams that you guys have on your list.
Disagree.
That's wrong.
Disagree. You want to know
That's
why?
very not
Because
nice,
they've fucking
Sean.
done it twice already.
Exactly.
And what has it done for them?
As I said to you guys before the show, they deserve a Stanley Cup more than they deserve the first overall draft pick. And also, I don't like the energy of what you said there, because what it's done for them is given them their best players. Like, they have done well with the first overall picks. They just haven't managed to turn that into winning.
Yeah, they've just turned great players into
still great players, into the captain of the team
that also just like hate their lives.
I
choose not to ruin the lives of young men by letting the Buffalo Sabres win the draft lottery.
They certainly deserve it more than the Boston Bruins. I'll say that.
They do deserve more than Boston Bruins, and I would be I was going to have the Sabres. Initially, I had the Sabres on my list, and I took them off. I think that them playing hard late in the season and looking good late in the season, maybe, just maybe, things were feeling a little good, and you add one more good thing to make everything happy. And this is a team that if they got the first overall pick, you could say, maybe they trade it. Maybe they try to find that guy. To people in the chat who say the thing you're describing with the Sharks is called a rebuild, come on.
It is.
I mean, I think not. I think saying that the Sharks, like, any reason that you have for the Sharks not deserving it,
every
seems
year
a little
just
ridiculous to me.
every year just pushing guys out. That's
They're doing
more than a
what-
rebuild.
They're doing what you have to do.
They're getting temporary players for their rebuild and then ushering them out as part of the plan.
So their roster has nothing. Their roster is so fucking bad.
But this is the start of the Mike Greer rebuild. Like, I don't think you can hold everything that the Sharks have done over the past however many years against the current Sharks.
And I don't disagree with it. I think that it is one of the moves that you can make. But doing that to just so blatantly say, and then we'll get the first overall pick because we'll be the worst team in the league by a mile, I think you don't get the first overall pick there.
Well, I mean, I would also say that, like, I don't think you can accuse them of assuming they'd get the first overall pick, because
They're just
there's a lot
maximizing their chances.
Yeah, and like Utah, which the reason I don't think Utah deserves to be on this list is selfish, because they, like the Coyotes, no matter how bad they were, literally ever won the lottery. And for Utah to win the lottery in their first season, I guess technically their second season, would be a little ridiculous to me. But Bill Armstrong, like, this is what he did. Blew the team up, like, went through the bad times, and like it's following the plan. I don't think you can criticize
Blow it up
Sharks
is fine, but
I
at
don't-
what point, are you going to keep guys, build? Like, again, like, they're trading guys with years left on their deal. They're trading guys who are in their prime. And, like, Sharks,
I mean, this
if
is
you're
what-
trying to turn this around, you can be good in 2 years.
This is
Yeah,
what
but they're trading guys in their prime because they know their window, because they have the core pieces that are already there with Celebrini and Smith and Askarov. Like, they know their timeline.
and like trading Jake Wallman.
They're
feel
trading
like is-
everybody but the guys who just got here. It's just I'm
Because
not
that's their
judging
future.
them.
Like,
I'm
Jake-
not judging them. I'm just saying that, like, this, for me, doesn't get rewarded with the first
I think we
overall
might
pick.
be slightly overrating Jake Wallman, and also like Jake
Definitely.
Wallman is their Shane Gostisbehere. Like if I'm comparing this to Bill Armstrong and the Coyotes, like acquired him for a second or later round picks or whatever, rehabilitated his image a little bit, traded him away for a first round draft pick. Like that's just being a good GM. I feel like you maximized your assets there.
It's too easy to make this about Wallman, though. This is like a list of players. This goes back to Tomas Hertl.
But again, Tomas Hertl's not a part. Like that's not their window. They're not. Tomas Hertl was not going to be on that team when they had a chance at winning a Stanley Cup.
Okay.
The only trade that I didn't like them making was the Zetterlund trade. I didn't understand that one. That's the only trade that I had a problem with.
But you do understand it. I understand it. That's what they're doing. And
but Zetterlund's a young player.
right. So like that's what I'm saying. Like just get guys out, get us assets. That's what I'm saying. Like they're just moving everybody that is not Will Smith, Macklin Celebrini, and not Askarov yet, but who knows? Maybe in 5 minutes they'll get bored of him. And if next year they're starting to have a bad season, they'll say, well, what? We get a second round pick for this guy? Cool, move him out. I'm not judging it. I'm simply saying I would not reward it with the first overall pick. Like we all know what they're doing. We all see what they're doing. It is more unabashed tanking than other teams do. And other teams sell at the deadline, but this is tanking. You can do it if you want. You're allowed to do it. I wouldn't reward it with the first overall pick. I just think it's a little too blatant. But maybe I'm old-fashioned.
But
what would top your list, Sean?
Top of my in terms of deservedness, I mean, I feel like it's got to be the Blue Jackets. Like I think they, for like non-hockey reasons, deserve it the most.
And hockey reasons.
And hockey, but like the part of the reason why I don't think the Sabres deserve it too is that like whoever they draft does nothing for them. Like by the time that player becomes a part of the NHL roster, the Sabres better have either won a Stanley Cup or are in the process of rebuilding again. So like kind of similar things. I mean, the Kraken and Penguins I put up there too because I just kind of want to see a first, like the passing of the torch from Sidney Crosby, whoever the first overall draft pick is, would be cool. And the Kraken I think is just good for the league. And then I'm putting the Sharks up there, A, because I have bias towards Mike Greer. But B, because I think they deserve it for, like, I think the fans deserve it because they are doing what you have to do as a fan, is go through this shitty rebuild time for the brighter days that are on the other side of it. And I think everyone, like, I just wholeheartedly agree with your point, DJ. Like, I think everyone involved with the Sharks deserves that pick.
Yeah. Wait, you wholeheartedly disagree?
Yes.
No, I mean, I'll be happy for the Sharks if they get the first overall pick. Like I said, I wouldn't reward them with it. I'll be happy for Sharks fans because this does, or at some point, this is going to suck. Like at some point, they're cute and they take selfies together is going to get annoying because you're going to be like, fuck, like, are they going to win games at any point? I think they'll get there, but they are running a risk. They are running a risk by not surrounding these guys with anything and not letting this grow into something. It's just that they're tanking. That's all. And when teams trade guys at the deadline, I don't really consider that tanking. I think that is just asset management. It's understanding that you're in a rebuild. It seems like the Sharks keep starting a rebuild, though. So I wouldn't reward them with the first overall pick. It's not the end of the world. If they get the first overall pick, I'll be happy for them because up front, Celebrini, Will Smith, Schaefer on the back end. You also have your goalie of the future. Start building from there. July 1st is the first day of the rest of your life.
The last thing I'll say is I don't think that the Sharks keep restarting their rebuild. I think that they have been stripping down the pieces for this rebuild over a number of years, which would be further to the point that, like, they still kind of deserve it because they've been playing the long game for a little bit now. And like their rebuild is not just going to happen over the course of like 1 or 2 years in terms of assembling the new pieces. It's going to take just as long as it took to strip down, which was like a handful of years.
Yeah, I just think like they deserve to see out the plan. Like this is what they are trying to do. And like this is the next step in it. I don't think they have done anything. They haven't like mistreated player like stars in the process. They haven't, like, they are just doing the thing you need to do to have a winning franchise, especially when you're in a market that's not going to acquire stars. Like Mitch Marner's not showing up next year. So what else are you supposed to do other than trade away assets, try to put yourself in a
We're
position?
just going to disagree with
Right.
this
You have a
because Pete, like this is not the
difference.
beginning of the rebuild. Like we're just going to disagree on this.
Yeah, nobody
the
said this was the beginning of the rebuild.
You just did. You said they're going to take a couple of years to rebuild.
No, I said they're in the middle of the one rebuild. You said they keep restarting it.
I mean, like they restarted it again this season by dumping everybody.
I disagree with that. Like I think this is a continuation of the process.
This is a continuation of the same rebuild.
Like
I also I think that there's a philosophical difference that like your list is rewarding teams that like accidentally fell ass backwards into the pick, and I think that's bad for
or the
reward.
teams that are fucking up, and I think that the Sharks are aiming for the pick after they aimed for it last year and got it. This makes me sound like a Sharks hater. It just makes me see, but what I'm trying to communicate is tanking that blatantly and not trying to surround your young guys with something okay. Like the Blackhawks are trying harder to surround Connor Bedard with something, and they're doing a fucking terrible job.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say too. Is they tried, and it.
But I think the
only
Blackhawks deserve it more than the Sharks.
I think the Sharks are trying to surround their guys with good players. It's just they want those players to fit the same timeline as the ones that they have, like the young guys, which is why they're
so
going
someone
for
in the
assets.
chat kind of make so like what was it when they were getting rid of Carlson, Burns, and Hurdle? Like wasn't that them?
Yeah,
I think that is
they're
this
stripping down the previous regime for the transition into this one.
So that's
like the
years,
current Utah
though.
hockey
That's what
club.
I said.
Yeah,
they stripped it down over years and years.
Like the current Utah hockey club, this rebuild, I think, starts with trading away Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Connor Garland, however many years ago, because that got them the pick that ended up being Dylan Guenther. Like, I think that's all still part of this current rebuild. And the other thing about the Sharks is, like, would they have been any better? Like, are they still not going to end up with the worst record in the league had they kept Zetterlund and Wallman? Because I think they probably do.
Yeah.
And so in which case, like, it would be gross incompetence, I think, to hold on to those guys.
Oh,
and
no
not
way.
acquire
No way.
more assets for it.
No way. If you still had Zetterlund and
Zetterlund is a bad one. But
no,
like
both
Wallman.
those guys. And I
don't see Wallman being like a core piece. I don't.
Who said he's a core piece? But he's a top 4 defenseman who is signed through next year, and he's somebody that you can continue to that you can have a group beyond 2 young star players, and then cool. Who else do you have? Well, we've got this top 4 defenseman who on that team is a top pairing defenseman, signed through next year. Got Zetterlund, a youngish star forward. You have these other pieces, and you still end up getting a top 3 pick. They still definitely would have finished with the worst team in the league because their roster already was so much worse than everybody else's. So
I guess my argument for the Wallman thing would be who has more value for Wallman, or who is Wallman more valuable to? A team that needs a top 4 defenseman, or a team that like he's essentially a top pairing defenseman because the team is so bad. Like, I don't think that he shifts the scales for like he's not worth holding on to just because he's a top 4 defenseman.
And the other side of that is what's more valuable for the San Jose Sharks, Jake Wallman or a first-round draft
That's
pick.
what I'm saying.
And
yeah,
I think
right.
it's undoubtedly the pick.
He's not a guy that you hold on to.
I don't know about that. Like another late first-round pick, I believe next year. I don't know. I would rather at some point you need to have players, and these are not old veteran players. These are young players who are signed and in their prime. Look, different philosophies, and again, I understand and respect what Greer is doing, but I would want to have more guys than just 2 young stars, and then every year go into it with, okay, now it's a whole new roster, and we're going to have 1 million guys who are playing on their entry-level contract, except for Tyler Toffoli. It's a difference of philosophy, apparently, but I'm a little... I just wouldn't be so aghast at disagreeing with tanking this way. That's all.
If you don't do it this way from where the Sharks were, like, how are you supposed to build a winner otherwise? Because I don't, like, I just don't see what their path is. If you don't trade away those guys and you hold on to it, like, how do you become a legitimate contender?
And also, the guys that you're trading that have term on their deal, you could have taken them into next year and then traded them at the deadline once you're bad. That's a little more of what Chicago does. And I think that could end up, especially like if the vibes on the team are so good, then
by trading a guy with an extra year of control, you maximize the asset.
Yeah, right. But again, you're maximizing the asset to being the San Jose Sharks picking 30th overall.
But like if you're the Sharks,
less next year.
I think having a first.
No, but I'm saying like, what's the difference between picking 30th overall and picking 50th overall in the NHL draft? Nothing.
I mean, yeah, I know, but like, what's the difference between having Jake Wallman an extra year when you're not doing anything with him?
Like
then you go into next year being like, okay, like now let's try to be a little better.
If he doesn't fit into your future, then just find out, maximize the asset, figure out a piece that maybe does fit into your future. Let those guys run, and then maximize your draft position.
Yeah, like
I think that's an oversimplification. I think that because you're going into the season being like, okay, we're gonna suck again. You did that last year. How many years in a row do you really want to do that? I think that you want to have this team feel like it's building and going towards something instead of being three guys in a room. And
you can also flip the pick. Like if they make trades this summer, like you have a first round pick that's on the table, which holds more value on paper when you're making a deal than a second round pick.
Yeah, like I definitely think the 20 extra picks that you get
matters
in the Wallman matters more than another half season or another full season, however you want to put it, of Jake Wallman.
I wouldn't tank like this, but if they get the first overall pick, look, I love the Sharks, love their vibes, love the players, the three of them that they decide to keep, and then they keep trading everybody else. Kraken, if you can get something, I would love to spend more than 1 second a year talking about you. Okay.
I do also want to point out that like tanking, I kind of said this earlier, like it's not like it's guaranteeing them the first overall pick. Like it's still a risk you are taking. Right. So like it's not like it's guaranteed to pay off.
Guaranteed
like,
top 4 pick.
That's true.
What?
Like it's not guaranteed to pay off. The strategy. So like it's not like they are cheating. Obviously, you're not accusing them of cheating, but it's not like they are gaming the system or however you want to put it to guarantee themselves to be like. Obviously, it's putting them in a better position, but like it's by no means guaranteeing that it's going to work out in the long run.
I just don't remember a team in recent memory where it's been so apparent they're doing that.
I mean,
and it's a risk, but we'll see.
I think the Utah Hockey Club did that pretty clearly. Like
They Arizona.
They were playing the ghost of Louis Eriksson.
Arizona, but Arizona also could have just been incompetence as well.
But it's not incompetence. Like Bill Armstrong has put this team in a position to be a legitimate like playoff team. I mean, they were almost this year. Certainly will be next year.
No, I'm saying during like the Arizona days where it wasn't.
But those choices were Bill Armstrong's.
Right, but I also think that like part of the reason that Arizona was so bad at points was because nobody wanted to go to Arizona because it was the Arizona Coyotes.
I mean,
that could be wrong, but
yeah, I don't know.
And they lost their draft picks for.
That's true. Yeah,
not
for bad
totally
things.
Right. They those picks aren't in what is it called? Those picks aren't in society anymore.
Been removed from society.
Okay, we have a lot more lottery stuff coming up because we're going to be streaming for the lottery tonight, 6:30 p.m. Eastern in the United States, Canada, Japan, Finland, wherever you are. We are going to be streaming along with the lottery. Have some things that we're going to discuss. Probably more Sharks, I guess. But when the Kraken win the first, who would be the funniest to get the first overall pick?
Bruins.
I mean, Bruins would be the funniest.
It would be the funniest.
I mean,
and people would be so mad. I know people. I would guess if there's a team on the list that people are rooting against the most to not get the first overall pick, it's probably the Bruins or the Blackhawks.
I'm rooting against the Penguins to. Who are you most rooting against to win the first overall? I'm rooting against the Penguins.
I mean, I'm rooting against the Boston
Islanders.
Bruins. I was just gonna say, kind of want the Islanders to win the lottery.
Actually, it would be kind of.
It would be kind of funny, and it's also like,
oh no, the New York Rangers.
They're who you want the least.
No, like that's a team you root against the most.
Oh yeah, absolutely. After Boston, it's certainly the New York.
It's got to be the Rangers.
It would be kind of funny though, because then the Rangers would be like, "Oh yeah, we're back. We got Schaefer. You're not back."
The Islanders would like it would be. The fans deserve it. Like I feel like the Islanders. Plus, they got rid of Lou Lamoriello. Like
new chapter.
The Islanders have done nothing they have done nothing to deserve hate.
Well,
they've done nothing to like garner support, but they've
mainly the way they played hockey.
But like the players, the fans, none of them deserve bad things to happen to them. They deserve good things. It's
Okay.
just that they're boring, and
I will take
no
back
one
what I
wants
said about
things
that.
for them.
There's a
It wouldn't
guy
be- it wouldn't be bad.
people who are trying to like throw the Oilers into the Sharks conversation. You are wrong and out of your depth. That was gross incompetence. That was a team that kept trying. They were like, "We got Taylor Hall. All right, we're good. Let's go."
They're closer to the Sabres.
To the play. Yes,
Yeah,
the Oilers
exactly.
are closer to the
And
Sabres.
that's what I'm worried about with the Sharks. I don't want them to get into that used to losing, used to sucking kind of thing, because that thing is hard to escape. The Oilers experienced that accidentally. They were trying to, okay, we got the guys now. Now it's time. Andrew Ferentz, captain, winning culture. Okay, let's go. We're off. Oh, fuck. First overall again. Okay. Nail, we got everybody. Let's go. And that was incompetence. And that's where I'm a little more like pro Blackhawks than I am pro Sharks in terms of deserve to win the lottery. We're like, they're trying, but they're so fucking stupid that yes, and people are asking, like, so are you saying that you would rather award stupidity than strategically aiming for the pick? This is all very nuanced, and my issue with some of this conversation is, like, it is more nuanced than that, like, you trade guys and you give up on guys, but you got to be a little selective about how many you still want to have at the end of the day. I think that stupidity and being saved from yourself is a big part of the lottery discussion. And I feel this way about the NBA lottery, where like, you know what? That GM is not going to figure this shit out. Get them the first overall pick in a year where there's no choice but to take the guy. Please help these guys. And in my case, like the Kraken, help them from this like weird ass strategy and direction they're in.
I would also rather this pick go to somebody who I can trust, like will use it. Like giving them to the Blackhawks and rewarding that incompetence is crazy to me, because there's no reason to believe that they'll put a good roster around these picks and make it so they deserved it.
And I definitely am more excited about Mike Greer's direction than a lot of these other GMs. He's the one guy that's in the top, let's say 5, where we know exactly what he's doing and what his plan is there. It's tanking, but maybe it's done after this. Maybe this is the last one, I promise, all done.
I will say of these top 5, like as much as I don't want Boston to win it, like what the fuck is Nashville doing? Like if they win that pick, does that put them any closer to like any of us knowing what their plan is?
It's going to be a little bit of a murky situation because they have a bunch of old veterans and then a young guy.
Like I don't know. I get that you can't because the season went so poorly that it doesn't seem like you're an asset away from being a cup winner. But like, do you not think about trading that pick if you're Nashville? Because it doesn't it doesn't get you closer.
Yeah, so I'll go through the top 5. San Jose is there because they tanked. Chicago is there because of incompetence.
Well,
Nashville
tanked.
is there because of what's that?
I said they also tanked. Like them being in this position is a product of their tanking from years prior.
Right.
And then they also sold at the deadline.
Right. They're in the thing that you should be afraid of. And Sabres fans have experienced this before, where like it's not just tanking, it's the afterlife of tanking. It's after, like, once you're outside the blast zone or whatever, or like once that bomb goes off, there's still radiation for years after in past generations. That's where the Blackhawks are right now. That's where the Sabres still are, but I see the Sabres kind of getting their way out of it.
Sabres are in no man's land.
Nashville is there because of incompetence. Philadelphia is there. Philadelphia just needs that fucking pick, man.
Who's to say that player is going to even want to play there?
Do you credit where Nashville is to incompetence? Like, is that because it's not like, because like in the offseason, we were all like, this is awesome. They're making smart choices.
They had one of 2 directions to pick. I like that they picked the one they did. I respect going for it clearly.
Did not work. Too old, too slow. Like,
but
I'm saying is, are you saying that is incompetence?
It proved to be incompetence.
But
we liked what they took a shot and they missed.
Okay, someone in the chat was saying, like, how could you like Chicago? Why do you like what Chicago's doing but not what San Jose is doing? And someone answered down below. It's the most recent one, I think. Chicago didn't trade every slightly good player away. Kept Donato. Kept Dickinson. Donato's the big one. But even if they traded Donato, I would have had no problem with that.
They should have traded.
But
Donato.
I don't know.
I think they may have tried to. Also,
If they plan on keeping Donato, then fine, sign him. Whatever. We can agree on that though. Like the Blackhawks mindset, even if you think that one is smarter than the other, Blackhawks and Sharks did not do the same thing. Blackhawks are trying to desperately have it be a little better around.
But I think there's definitely way more urgency around the Blackhawks.
The Blackhawks are also a year ahead of them. Like
true.
Both by first overall picks, but they both sucked for a while now.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I'm saying like they obviously were both tanking to try and get to a point where they could get a generational player. The Sharks acquired that generational player a year later. So like, if I
remember Sharks got Will Smith the Bedard year. So like Sharks they are sort of on the same timeline.
Yeah, but I mean their Bedard was Macklin Celebrini. It wasn't Will Smith.
I agree with that.
The only reason that I would be kind of rooting against San Jose is because just like 2 years in a row going chalk at the top of the draft. Or like last year was full
it's definitely not exciting.
Would be so boring.
It's definitely not exciting. Yeah.
Wait, that's why you would root against San Jose?
Yeah.
Okay, well, clearly there's no shortage of thoughts here. I've got a little like homework thing I did that I will reveal during the stream tonight, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll be live on the What Chaos YouTube. It's going to do it for this regular show, but we're clearly going to be back very soon. Make sure that you are subscribed everywhere you can be, including Inside the Coach's Room. That's Steve Peters on his Twitter, on his Instagram, everywhere. But Inside the Coach's Room is his YouTube. It's the best.
We did not do a slate grade.
Oh, yeah. Let's give you a slate. Forgot there's hockey tonight. Panthers at Maple Leafs, game 1, 8 p.m. Eastern in the United States and Canada. This one I consider a must-win for the Maple Leafs. I think it's a must-win.
Okay. All right. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Maple Leafs are necessarily in a position to be losing games at home. So.
I don't think that this is a must-win. I would say if they lose this one, game 2 is a must-win. Definitely.
I think
they got to take one at home.
I just don't think I don't think the Maple Leafs can lose a game at home.
So like the series doesn't start until the home team wins a game, basically is what we're saying. Because normally you say the series starts when the road team wins a game. We are so sure the road team is winning this series that for the first 2 games we say series starts when the home team wins a game.
That's right. Yeah. Very excited for that series. Very excited for basically the entire second round. We haven't spent a second talking about the Carolina Hurricanes versus the Washington Capitals. But that's fine.
I like the Hurricanes in that series. I know a lot of people... Actually, no, I think that the popular pick is the Carolina Hurricanes. I do believe.
Yes,
I believe in my Caps. Caps year, baby.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that at some point. But this show is coming to a close. So before you get out of here, please subscribe to the YouTube channel or hit the thumbs up button right below the video. I said or. You don't have to choose. You can do both. Please do both. Hit the thumbs up button. That is the like button. And if you're on audio... head on over to YouTube at some point and subscribe to our channel. We are climbing in numbers, which we very much appreciate. We're closing in on 15,000 subscribers. So if you want to join, please do. And if you're on YouTube, you can also follow us on the old podcast platforms with your pals. Thanks for listening and watching today's show.
Dr. Smackin says the series doesn't start till 8 p.m. Eastern. Facts. Thank you very much, Dr.
Probably like
Smackin.
8:07.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, like an 8:10 type situation. Okay, 6:30 p.m. We'll talk to you then. Bye.
We all silly like the mayor.